Hello everyone and welcome back to today's video. Today we are checking out Basketball, which is a multiplayer and synced resource for your FiveM server. This is a paid resource, but the author is letting me review it and show it to you for free. So thank you so much to the author for that. This is a standalone, or it can be used with ESX or QBCore resource. It is synced among all of the players, which is pretty cool. Let's go ahead and take a look at some pictures here. We'll check out the features in game in a little bit. You can check the timestamps down in the description if you want to skip ahead to any point in the video. So here you can see that you have the basketball courts, you have the basketball on the court. You go ahead and select the game mode you want to do. You can do horse around the world or free throws. You can do easy, medium, or hard difficulty. If you're using a core, you can go ahead and set a wager, which is pretty cool indeed. There's a whole video on aiming. I will also leave down in the description. It's pretty helpful, so I do recommend you do that before getting started with this resource. You can see some just more pictures here. Pretty cool. So let's go ahead and install this and get it set up so I can show you in game. There's a few things we're going to do for this video install. First, once you buy this, you're going to be added to Keymaster, which is the way FiveM handles paid resources. Remember, with Keymaster, you have to be on a newer server version. So I always recommend, just before you go ahead and buy anything, update to the latest recommended builds for your server artifacts. This will make sure everything is working properly on your server, and it will also make sure that Keymaster is working properly to allow usage of your resources. So some people have problems with that because they haven't updated in a long time. Just update your server artifacts and you should be good to go. All right, so let's go ahead and get started here. Once you go ahead and buy it, it will show up here. And I'm just going to go ahead and click download in the R-Core Basketball inside of my Keymaster. And then I'm just going to wait a second and open it up with WinZip, 7-Zip, WinRAR, whatever you want to use this resource or to open the folder. And you're going to navigate to wherever your resources are located. We're going to have a couple steps when we're installing this. If you are using a core, you can use the database.sql. We are going to be modifying the configure file so we don't use this, and it's completely standalone in this video. The author is very helpful with support if you need it, so you can go check that out if you run into any problems. But there's a couple things we're going to do. I recommend reading the README if you haven't already. And just this README just goes over pretty much what you need to do if you're using a core. It tells you what to use if you're using OX inventory. Just a couple of useful things you're going to need when you are using that. So let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to drag in two folders here. We're going to drag in the assets folder and the normal folder. So we're just going to go ahead and drag these in to our resources folder here. And then within our normal folder, the non-assets, we're going to go to our config.lua and modify this with Notepad or Notepad++. And we're going to go in here and we're going to take a look at what we have. You can customize the game names here. You can select the framework you're using if you have one. You can set the triggers for the framework. You can enable OX inventory. You can change the horse letters if you want. You can change the scale of your markers, and if you want to hide them or you target or whatever you want to use for this, you can customize. Should players need a basketball in their inventory if you want them to play? Should you be able to place hoops on the ground? Stuff like this, which is pretty cool. You can configure all of the net colors and the keys and the names for those, so you can translate everything you need. Should you allow a wager? In our case, I'm not going to allow a wager, so I'm going to turn this to false, but you get all the text for that as well. Where are all of the hoops? You can see all of their little locations here, and you can add more if you want. It's just a JSON file, so it's pretty easy to add more if you really want. What we're going to do is we're going to check if there's a thing called Tricks RPG progression in here. And what we're going to do is we're going to turn this to false. The reason we're turning this to false is because this is actually what the database is used for. Since we're not going to be using a database, we're going to change this to false. And I'm going to go ahead and save this file. And I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to go into the server folder, database, and then the database.lua file. And then I'm going to replace this whole file with a very simple end function for the add score and get score. What this is going to do is it's just going to disable the MySQL function. You don't need it if you are not using it. Obviously, if you want MySQL, don't do this and actually set up your database correctly with your core and stuff like that. But for me, I'm not going to be using the database, so I'm going to go ahead and set it off. There is an inventory folder. If you're using an inventory system, that will be for you. Obviously, the database is if you're using another core, but that's pretty much all we have to do on our install. But we do have to still add these to our server.cfg file. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up with Notepad++. And then I'm just going to go ahead and copy the name. I'm going to start up the assets folder first because it is required to be started first. And then I'm going to go ahead and start the actual resource right after I start the assets up. So what the assets folder is is it just holds all of the assets that this plugin uses, this resource uses. So we're going to keep all that in there. Then we're going to save our server.cfg. And when we start it up, all we have to do is take a look at console here and make sure that everything has started up. One sync is required, so I'm going to go ahead and turn this on, and I will be right back. All right, so I've gone ahead and enabled one sync. So if we go ahead and start the server now, we're no longer going to get that error. We're going to get a little script error about MySQL, but given we are not using it, we can go ahead and ignore it. So let's hop in game and check it out. So we are in game here, and you can see any orange dot on the map will be locations where you can play basketball, which is pretty cool indeed. So we're going to just head to one of these, probably the one closest to us, just to keep things easy. So we are down here, and you can see that while this basketball is covered up by tires, you can see here. So I'm going to go ahead and press E to start. I'm going to go ahead and use my mouse. I'm going to do free throws, easy. We can't put a wager, remember. I'm going to put my name as Noodles, press register, and we are good to go. Press start. There we go. So put the ball up with E. I'm going to go ahead and dribble it over here. I'm going to aim my throw. I'm going to lock my aim with left control. And I'm going to throw it by increasing my power. So it kind of just is a little bit over the basket like that. And throw. Well, clearly I needed more power. But I would recommend watching the video on how to throw because it will really help you figure it out. Obviously, I'm still not the best of it. So that is my fault. Lock aim and throw. Yeah, I'm pretty bad at throwing, obviously, even though I watched that video. But I do recommend watching it if you haven't already because it is pretty cool. Obviously, if you press left alt, you can do your little spin on your finger, which is pretty cool. And then the other trick is behind the neck roll. There we go. Pretty cool. And there's... I was doing the thing, but apparently my trainer has key bindings enabled, which is really annoying. So I'm going to do one more aim throw here. I'm going to go ahead and lock the throw, and I'm going to go ahead and throw it. Probably way off. Yep, still too less power. But overall, it is a pretty cool resource, and I do recommend you check it out because it is super fun to play. It's synced with other players too, so if you have problems with that, just ask the author on their Discord. But very cool resource. Thank you for letting me check it out, and have fun with this in your FiveM server. All right, see you next time, everyone.
Got me reaching out, and do you see you got me falling in more times than I can get out.